Hello, Professor Tish Dorman. My name is Robert John Guevara.
And I'm Lisa Hendrickson. Our signature assignment for epidemiology is on HIV/AIDS in children. The title of our article that we focused on is called Reception and Treatment of HIV/AIDS Children in School.
Now, this research paper was written by Tontefe Selemani Mwande, who is a professor at Nelson Mandela Metropolitan University in South Africa. His paper was accepted by the Academics Journal in January 18th, 2015. I really like this paper, and I wanted to interview you to see what you thought about it. Sound good?
Sound good?
All right. Now, let's begin with a simple question. Lisa, why do you think the researcher performed this study?
That is a really good question. I think Mwande conducted his research study to determine whether children living with HIV and AIDS should be allowed to attend the same school with HIV/AIDS negative children. I know what you're thinking, but why that specifically? There are children in several countries that are being discriminated against because of their condition. Let me show you. The countries observed were as followed. We have Vietnam, Thailand, India, Sub-Saharan Africa, UK, and the US.
Wow, Lisa, that is actually very interesting. I also heard that in Vietnam, according to the Radio Free Asia, that there are parents that would state it is better for our children to have their schooling stop rather than let them sit next to AIDS-infected children. And there were some other cases where parents would go as far as to saying that they would rather be bombed, like in the Vietnam War, rather than attend the same schools with the infected children.
Wow, Robert, that is shocking information. Did you know that further observation in Thailand has shown that even children were not comfortable playing with the HIV/AIDS positive children? For those kids who would play with them were reported to state that they would still try to keep their distance in order to not even touch them. I think that it's so sad that children are taught to hate or discriminate.
Well, this is a problem, a huge problem for society, and may cause children's self-esteem to erode to nothing. In India, it is pointed out that children with HIV/AIDS are either denied admission or other children would bully them and show them no respect. This is also true in the UK, where children were also denied if it is found out that they are HIV/AIDS positive. According to Thornton, it is reported that every year 100 children are tested positive.
In the Sub-Saharan Africa, children end up being sexually exploited, unemployed, engaged in child labor, and being predisposed to contract the very disease which has placed them in their current predicament. The 3 countries investigated in Africa were Kenya, South Africa, and Uganda. Here, according to the Human Rights Watch, the government did very little to address the problem in children encountered.
However, in the U.S., according to the U.S. Department of Education, there have been no reports of cases. Child Info stated that the children experience some stability and normalcy in their lives. Schooling helps HIV/AIDS infected children to cope with the health situation in which they find themselves.
Well, with that being said, Robert, I have some questions.
Okay.
What was the aim being investigated? And what techniques were used in the study collected?
Well, the study aimed at getting different views from people around the world on whether children with HIV should be allowed to attend the same schools. Now, the study involved the participation of university-level students. There were a total of 424 participants, and within those 424 participants, comprised of males and females. And these participants were gathered from Kenya University, Tanzania University, South Africa University, and an American college. Now, what was used was a questionnaire, but get this, there was only one question asked, and it states, should children with AIDS go to the same school with those who do not have AIDS. Now, the students were given 3 options to tick from: yes, no, and I don't know. Now, I know what you're thinking. How did they get these students to answer the question? The researcher made an arrangement with the university lecturers to administer the questionnaire to their students. And yes, these students were given the option to answer if they wanted to.
That is true. I would also like to add that these students were told to fill out their gender and their date of birth, but they were not permitted to write their names and institutions of affiliation.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
What were the results of the study?
The participants' knowledge for the 4 institutions of higher learning ranged from 64 to 72%, which was interpreted as being really good. The respondents had no problem with the HIV/AIDS positive children, attending schools with those who were HIV/AIDS negative. These children should not be deterred from attending.
Now, would you say this supported or negated the hypothesis?
I would definitely say that it supported it. The whole point of this study was to clearly show that not all was well with the HIV/AIDS positive children in their school career. I would also like to add that the policies intended for the integration of the children in school were dormant. And all of this brings up a call for the reactivation so that the HIV/AIDS children are not unduly barred access to the public education. So I have one more question. Robert, what do you think this has pointed to, further or future studies?
According to the readings, it has not been mentioned if further studies were conducted or future studies at that. However, I believed it has raised awareness about the children's condition in the countries mentioned in our presentation. Mm-hmm. Now, the last question.
Okay.
Why did you choose this particular article to review? Was it interesting, informative, clearly written, or none of the above? And keep in mind, all credit will be given for honest opinions.
Mm-hmm. That is a really good question. I felt that the article topic was really interesting and informative, and that's why I was really drawn to it. It's a topic that's piqued my interest because the HIV/AIDS is such a relevant issue, yet not common in schools today like it is in Africa. What about you? What do you think?
Well, since honest opinions will get credited, I'm not afraid to speak truthfully. As soon as Lisa sent me an email about the topic of choice, I was really surprised on how fast she picked it. I'm the type of person that will not pick a topic first unless we really needed one, but especially since I didn't know where to start. You give me a topic, and I will work with it. So it was an interesting topic, and I'm glad that Lisa had chosen this topic because it brought me awareness of the children's living situation with AIDS and HIV. And prior to this reading, I have only thought about the adult's condition, never the children. So thank you, Lisa.
And thank you, Robert.
Oh, and thank you, Professor Tish Dorman.
And thanks everyone for listening and watching our presentation. Thank you.
Have a nice day.